Hello everybody, video here for you today. This is the Retro No Cap recap of The Curse of Oak Island Season 7, Episode 8 called TRIPTYCH, originally aired January 7th, 2020. If you missed any of my recaps of previous and future episodes, there's a link to my Oak Island playlist in the upper right. Let's get into it. Previously, on the Curse of Oak Island, people have been looking for an incredible treasure for 229 years. Work continues in the bump out in Smith's Cove. Billy is continuing to unearth the most recently found structure that is not documented as having been found previously. It contains a wooden clay-packed wall, and one end is made of placed cobblestones. Steve says that the slipway ends where this begins, and Terry notices a timber that seems like cribbing amongst the cobble. It's possible that it is undocumented searcher work, but Dan Blankenship never said anything about it. Rick theorizes that the Restall family could have built it in the 1950s, but that area would have been underwater. Billy will continue to uncover it. The next day, the work continues, and Gary Metal detects this cribbing spike similar to ones he found with the slipway. He dates it to that same time period, 16 to 1700s, which Carmen Legg confirmed of the previous finds. Researcher Corian Mall joins the team in the war room. He had previously presented a theory that a French painter hid clues to the location of the treasure on Oak Island. He says that Nicholas Poussin is a classical painter. Narrator Robert Clotworthy adds that he was born in 1594 and became one of the preeminent painters of the French Baroque style during the 1600s. He served as first painter to King Louis XIII of France, but spent much of his career in Rome, Italy, and had as patrons powerful nobles, Catholic Church officials, and even the Pope himself. According to Corin's research, these three paintings could contain clues to the Oak Island treasure. The first, from 1620, is called Shepherds of Arcadia, and one of the shepherds is pointing to the inscription Et in Arcadia ego, that means I too am in paradise, or even in Arcadia, there I am. It has been used in several paintings of the time by different artists. Corin thinks it could be an anagram or the same letters in a different order. In this case, G Te Neo Arcadia, or Excursion to New Arcadia, which was the name given to the French colonies in the Nova Scotia area not quite 100 years before the painting was created. A second painting done at the same time features Midas washing his feet in a river, leaving gold in it. Corin believes this is a reference to the Gold River in Nova Scotia. The mouth of the Gold River is directly northwest of Oak Island. In 1637, Poussin creates Shepherds of Arcadia II. And Corin believes that when the painting is lined up with Nolan's Cross, the shepherd is pointing to the treasure location approximately in the middle of the triangle-shaped swamp, which was recently pronounced as man-made no earlier than 300 years prior by geoscientist Dr. Ian Spooner. Rick asks Corin what he thinks the treasure is, and the researcher responds that he thinks the Ark of the Covenant was found after 1099 and was eventually buried on Oak Island. Rick says that surveyor Steve Gupta will be able to ascertain that exact position. Back in Smith's Cove, Jack and Gary start hand digging on the other side of the log wall. Gary points out that there are no photos of what that particular area looked like because it was always underwater. Diver Tony Sampson returns to the show, meeting Rick and Steve at the swamp. Also returning are local ground penetrating radar experts. The group will follow up on Corin's theory and get more data on the swamp in general to add to the seismic testing data from the previous year that revealed a ship-shaped anomaly. The GPR guys are in the raft. Tony is walking in the swamp, pushing the raft, and Rick and Steve are using ropes and poles to make sure the raft is maintaining a GPS accurate grid pattern. An anomaly is detected that is 10 feet below the swamp and 20 feet wide in the approximate location Corin provided. The team is already in the process of getting a permit to dig. They will do a few more east-west runs and then do north-south runs. Back in Smith's Cove, Doug is in the now deeply dug hole as digging continues on both sides of the log wall. They're looking for any evidence that the structure was put in place to try to block one or more flood tunnels. Doug pulls out this board from a hole under his feet. He thinks it's a platform for a ladder, which likely means that the builders went much deeper. Rick decides to stop digging the structure, at least for the moment, because as it gets bigger, it is reducing access to the rest of the bump out area. In the money pit area, the drilling continues to try to locate shaft 2, the first ever searcher dug shaft. Having found shaft 9, which has a documented direction and distance from the original money pit shaft, or shaft 1, finding shaft 2 would give them a second landmark, also with a documented direction and distance from the money pit. Steve has already plotted an arc of possible money pit locations from shaft 9. If shaft 2 were found, he could plot another arc, and the money pit would likely be where the two arcs intersect. Also, definitive proof of shaft 2 would be finding the tunnel from it to the money pit at 110 feet, which would also give them location data. The team encountered wood at 33 feet in the prior borehole the previous week. The newest borehole's 19 to 29 feet core sample contains wood that features hand-cut edges and is a box joint according to Terry, which leads him to say that it's a corner. Rick arrives for an update. They will continue the borehole operation to ascertain the location of another wall. Steve guesstimates that the tunnel they are chasing would be around FG14 on the money pit grid area, where no previous drilling has been documented. The team will submit the wood samples for dendrochronology dating to determine whether it fits into the date range in which shaft 2 was constructed. Those results are revealed in the war room. The wood was cut in 1796, 1 year after the money pit was discovered, so could have been used in 1805 to create shaft 2. Marty comments that Dendro has constantly been the source of the most reliable and helpful data on the island. The only documented shafts that are anywhere near that old are shaft 2 in the original money pit shaft. Marty suggests that the original money pit is in a 20-foot radius of the shaft 2 location as indicated by the rear of the drill rig here. Since shaft 2 was built southwest of the money pit, that means that the money pit would be northeast of shaft 2. This picture is aligned south to the left and north to the right, so the X is my guess on the money pit location. Where is Zig when I need him to do this stuff for me in CAD? I've seen every show, but I don't recall what happened with this particular borehole program. I guess we will find out on the next recap. I'll be continuing doing these retro no-cap recaps of seasons 7 and 8 during the fall. All of the other episodes are already done and are in my Oak Island playlist. If they did continue the recent pattern, season 12 of The Curse of Oak Island will begin airing in early November of 2024. I'm also doing retro no-cap recaps of seasons 2 through 4 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Seasons 1 and 5 are all done and are in the Skinwalker Ranch playlist. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Siempre avanti.